Welcome to Two Witness Teaching Program. Two Witness, a Bible teaching program to change and transform people. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Let's dive into it.
All right.
I'm all right.
Chapter 27. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death. Well, Isaac's going to live on quite a bit longer, but he seems to think he's near the day of his death. He's ready to give the blessing of the birthright. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, and that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. I already know Rebekah loved Jacob and preferred him, and also she knew that God said the older will serve the younger. She knew about that, yes. So verse 6, And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I hear thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Rebekah launches her plan to get Jacob the blessing. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may bless thee, and that he may bless thee he may eat and bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. So Rebekah tells Jacob what to do. Jacob is concerned. I'm going to be deceiving my father. Oh, don't worry about it. I'll take responsibility for that. Just do what I say. Verse 14, And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau. She's going to dress Jacob up like Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob her younger son. And she put the skins of kids of goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. Verse 18, And he came unto his father, and said, My father? And he said, Here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. So Jacob tells a lie. He deceives his father right here. This is number 1. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? Lie number 2. He said, Well, because the Lord thy God brought it unto me. He arranged me to catch him quickly. All right, verse 21. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. So he's not convinced. It doesn't seem right. And Jacob went near to Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, "Art thou my very son Esau?" Number 3, he says again, "I am." And he said, "Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee." And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of the raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven, the fatness of the earth, the plenty of corn and wine. Verse 29, let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren. So here it happens. He says, you are the heir. You be, I bless thee, I make you Lord over your brethren. And let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. So the rest of the family will be subject to Jacob. That's been declared by Isaac. Verse 30, and it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison, and brought it me, and I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him? Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. And Esau says, is not he rightly named Jacob, which means supplanter? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times, or in other words, he's tripped him up. He's tricked him twice now. First was when Esau committed himself to giving up the birthright, and now where he's tricked him in front of Isaac. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he's taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. You will serve him. And with corn and wine have I sustained him, and what shall I now do unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Verse 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. If you go back to verse 40, it says, when thou shalt have the dominion, then you'll break the yoke off his neck. In the Peshitta it says, but if thou shalt repent. I think that's good. Esau hated Jacob, and until Esau repents and acknowledges his own wrongdoing, Jacob will be this yoke around his neck. In other words, he will be on his conscience all the time, thinking of how much he hates his brother and how much he wants to get revenge, until Esau repents for himself of what he did as part of these things. But right now, his mind is set. He says, when my father passes, I'm going to kill him. Verse 42, And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau is touching thee, doth comfort himself right now with the idea that he's going to kill you eventually. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban my brother in Haran, which is the place where Abraham came from and his family was at, and tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's fury turn away, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day, or of Isaac and you, Jacob? Because when Isaac passes, he's going to kill you. Verse 46, And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life. Now here's another half scheme. I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as are these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? Now we're in chapter 28, where Jacob has now deceived his brother and his father. And Rebekah's concerned for him. She's found out that Esau plans to kill him as soon as Isaac dies. And so Rebekah plans to send Jacob away and tells Jacob that your brother's going to kill you. You need to get out of here. Why don't you go back to my father's people and take a wife from them? And this is kind of a pretense that she uses with Isaac to get Jacob sent away. Chapter 28, verse 1, And Isaac called Jacob, and blessed him, and charged him, and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, my mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. So these would be cousins to Jacob. Verse 3, And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people, and to give thee the blessing of Abraham, and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram. Verse 6, And when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him away to Padanaram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, and that Jacob obeyed his father and mother, and he went to Padanaram for this wife. Then Esau, seeing the daughters of Canaan, which he had taken, pleased not Isaac and his father. Then he took other wives. Esau went unto Ishmael, and took unto him wives which were the daughters of Ishmael, Abraham's son. Okay, verse 10. Right. But he didn't go back to the correct kinfolk. He knew that his parents were upset with the wives he had chosen, so he was looking for another way to please them, to get some other wives. Verse 10, And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, the God of Isaac, and the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Another prophecy of Christ to come. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. Verse 16, Jacob awaked out of his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, How dreadful is this place. Dreadful there could be interpreted reverenced, or reverenced should this place be. This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon it on the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat, and the raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give a tenth unto thee.
So chapter 29, Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field. And lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. And a great stone was upon the well's mouth, and thither were all the flocks gathered. And they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said to them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, Of Haran are we. And he said unto them, Know ye Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. Verse 6, And he said to them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, We cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth, then we water the sheep. Verse 9, While he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. So imagine, we know the difficulties in the life of a shepherd, and here you've got one tough girl who's out there keeping the sheep of her father. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house, and he told Laban all these things. Verse 14, And Laban said to him, Surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with them the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because thou art my brother, shouldst thou therefore serve me for naught, for nothing? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? Well, that's only fair, right? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Now, meanings of the names, we've told you, were very important at this time. And Leah, her name means weary, and Rachel means a ewe, a sheep. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. So basically, both being described by their looks, but Rachel also being well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. Verse 19, And Laban said, It's better that I should give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. And Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What have you done to me? Did I not serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me or deceived me? You've betrayed me. And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service, which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. So Laban deceives him. And this is the agreement he tries to make with Jacob, fulfill her week, and to also cover his own deceit. And Jacob did so. Verse 28, he fulfilled her week, and he, Laban, gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. So Jacob was tricked, just like he tricked his brother Esau, just like he tricked his father Isaac. So we see this continuing string of deception that's going on. And we're going to see a few chapters from now, Laban gets tricked. So it just doesn't end. Verse 30, he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. So he was there 7 years. Basically, within a week, he gained 2 wives. He was there another 7 years before the story picks up again. 31, when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And in the New Testament Greek, when we look up hated, we see it means to prefer less. And I know that that's been taught to you in the past. But here in the Hebrew, hate means to hate personally. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, Surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me, because I gave him a son. So Reuben means a son. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, Because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon, or hearing, God heard. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi, or joined. So she's saying, maybe I'm earning his love. Maybe he'll be pleased with me because I'm bearing him these sons. 35, and she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah and left bearing. Judah means praise. And we'll see later, and I'm sure you know this already, that it's through Judah that the Messiah will come.
Chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And what's the phrase we have in our modern language? I'll just die. I'd just die if I didn't have children. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead? Am I God? Am I the one that's withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? I mean, why are you coming to me saying, Give me children or I'm going to die? I'm not God. I can't make that happen. Verse 3, and she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Verse 4, and she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived, and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. Okay, verse 7, and Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I've prevailed. Look, I have a second son through my handmaid. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, when Leah wasn't producing any more children, so she took Zilpah her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a troop cometh. So now we're having more kids. So here comes a troop more that's coming with her handmaid. And she called his name Gad, which means a troop. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher, which means happiness. Verse 14, Reuben, which is the eldest son of Leah, went in the days of the wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And mandrakes was a fruit that they believed in that time had kind of special love potion properties. It was like an aphrodisiac, something that she thought would help her with her husband, help her maybe even to conceive. Verse 15, and she said unto her, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee for my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob a fifth son. So now Leah is starting to produce children again. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar, which means a hired one. All right, verse 20, Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. The 6th son was named Zebulun, which means a dwelling. And afterwards she bare a daughter, this is the first girl, and called her name Dinah. At least the first one mentioned, but I think it probably is. Verse 22, and God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, thank you, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. Verse 25, it came to pass when Rachel had born Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto mine own place and to my country. Give me my wives, my children, and for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done unto thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest how I served thee, and how thy cattle was with me, for it was little which thou hadst before I came, and now increased unto a multitude. And Jacob did serve Laban well. And this is true. I mean, he cared for his things well, and they prospered. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now, when shall I provide for my own house also? And 31, he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything, if thou wilt do this thing for me. I will again feed and keep thy flock, and I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and all the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So my righteousness, or my right conduct, will answer for me in the time to come. For when it shall come for my hire before thy face, when the time comes I'm going to leave, every one that is not speckled or spotted among the goats, and the brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And Jacob removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. In verse 36, he set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Verse 37, Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and pilled white streaks in them, which means he took a scraping from the rod so that he took off the bark and a streak. So he scripted it. Very good. He pilled white streaks in them and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had pilled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. But this was as instructed by God. And that's the end of the tape? Oh, okay. And the flocks... This is pretty exciting. Okay, praise the Lord. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob, just as instructed by God, put those rods, when he saw, these strong cattle that I'd want to have, they're mating. God told me how to make them my own. Put these rods by them. Now the rods, that wasn't some trick just anyone could do, right? That wasn't right. Just like the love potion, that's not a natural thing. That's just something God told him to do to cause this to happen. And so that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. And he knows what's going to happen whenever he does this, they become his own. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and the maidservants and menservants, and camels and asses. Okay.
Chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's he hath gotten all this glory. So word finally gets back to Laban. I'm sure the sons weren't pleased, because that was their inheritance also. If his father has nothing, they have nothing. Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said to Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance. It is not toward me as before. But the God of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I've served your father. And here we're going to get a list of what has happened to him during this time. Verse 7, Your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times, but God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said, The speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. And if he said thus, The ringstraked shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ringstraked. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me.
Amen.
So this was the hand of God. It wasn't any specific trickery on the part of Jacob. This was what God instructed him to do. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leapt upon the cattle were ringstraked, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of the Lord spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leapt upon the cattle are ringstraked, speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowedst to vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return to the land of thy kindred. So God appears to him in a dream. He says, I am your God. I am the one who's doing this for you. Now it's time for you to go. And God is sending him away very prosperous. He's not going back empty-handed to his people the way he left. He's going back basically as his own people group, as his own nation. He has 11 sons now, plus daughters. He has many servants. He has enormous flocks and herds. So he's going to go back very prosperous. So verse 14, he's explaining this to his wives. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? What's left for us here? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's. Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up, and set his sons and his wives on camels, and he carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten at Padan Aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. Remember, when he left, Isaac was sick, and Esau comforted himself, saying, As soon as my father dies, I'm going to kill my brother. Well, it's been 20 years, and we're going to find that Isaac is still alive. So he's going to go back to Isaac. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. These were the household gods that Laban had in his house. They were called the teraphim, things that they worshipped in their home. And for some reason, Rachel stole them and took them with her, as if she had already just said, Is not everything that belonged to my father already ours? And doesn't it already belong to us and our sons? There's nothing left for us here. Let's just go. But instead, she goes back and steals some more.
Except her favorite idol, I guess.
Yeah, she had to have her favorite idol. I guess it wasn't enough. 20, and Jacob stole away unaware to Laban the Syrian, in that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and rose up, and passed over the river, and set his face toward the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob was fled. So remember, Laban was 3 days away from where Jacob was. So it took 3 days for a messenger to get to him to tell him Jacob was gone. So by then, Jacob was already 3 days in the opposite direction, or 6 days away from him. 23, and he took his brethren with him, Laban did, and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob, either good or bad. So we see protection on Jacob now, because God's appearing to Laban and saying, Be careful. Don't speak good or bad to him. 25, then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the Mount Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unaware to me? You've carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword. Wherefore did you flee away secretly and steal away from me, and did not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth and with songs and tabret and harp? Now to me this sounds very deceptive, because Laban has been nothing but deceptive to Jacob for 20 years. And now he's saying, Oh, why didn't you tell me? I would have thrown a going away party for you. We know that's not his motivation for chasing after him with all his men, was to chide him for not allowing him to throw a party.
If you want to write my note that I have in my Bible, it says, Yeah, right.
28, he continues, You've not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the God of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob, either good or bad. And now, though you would needs be gone, you felt it necessary to leave, because you sore longed after your father's house. Yet wherefore have you stolen my gods? Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure you would suppose take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. before our brethren, discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. He spoke very confidently that he knew that no one in his family would have stolen the household gods of Laban. Now, this gives us some more insight into Rachel's character. So far, all we've learned about her is that she was beautiful and well-favored and that she was a shepherd. And then we saw that she was contentious with her sister, contentious with her husband. She gets ahead or around God by having sons outside of the way God intended. And now we see she's stealing household gods. Why were there gods in their household at all? Why would they have idols that they would be worshiping? Why would they look to these idols for blessing? But she felt she had to have it, and she took it. Perhaps she felt she needed it for protection or whatever, but so she steals it. She's worshiping idols. She's lying. So we don't see much good in Rachel's character. Verse 33, Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then went he out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture in the saddle and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. So here we see she's hiding them. She's being deceptive. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee. For the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. So she uses this as an excuse of why she could not rise up. And that was just customary for that time in a woman's month, that any couch or any seat that she sat upon would be considered unclean and no one would touch it. And of course her father knew this. And so she used that as her reason why she couldn't get up. And I'm guessing that she was lying. So
Could be. She's already lied already.
It wouldn't surprise me if she was lying, that's why she's saying she couldn't get up. 36, Jacob was wroth, and he chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? You've searched all my stuff. What have you found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge between us both. This 20 years have I been with you. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought it not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand did thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. In the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou hadst sent me away now empty. God hath seen mine affliction and the labor of mine hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And that was the dream that he had given to Laban, saying, Speak not good or evil to him. So Jacob gets in a good rebuke here to his father-in-law. 43, Laban answered and said to Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou see is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore, come now, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said to his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. And they called this a heap of witness. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. 49, And Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between me and thee, when we are absent one from another. And here's Laban's parting shot. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, if you mistreat them, or if thou shalt take other wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness between me and thee. So it sounds like they're entering into a really nice, evenly fair on both sides covenant. But then he says, by the way, if you do this or this, the covenant's off. It's my excuse. I'll do what I think is best.
What a father-in-law.
What a father-in-law. 51, Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold this pillar which I have cast between me and thee. This heap be a witness, and this pillar be a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, called his brethren to eat bread, and they did eat bread and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them, and Laban departed and returned to his place.
Okay. Chapter 32. Jacob's going to see again angels on the way back now to Esau, going back to his own home country. Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's host, and he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Now, Jacob, we remember, saw angels when he was leaving home in chapter 28, and then he saw angels again when he's returning home, as I think this is encouragement from God. That God's with him as he went, God's with him as he's coming back. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. Jacob's concerned. You remember how he left his brother. His brother had a mindset that he wanted to kill him. So he's sending a peace envoy back to his brother to try to make peace before his return. Verse 4, he commanded them, saying, thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now, and I have all these possessions and all this family, and I have been sent, this messenger, to tell my Lord that I may find grace or favor in thy sight. Verse 6, and the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee with 400 men. Wow. This is making Jacob nervous. You met him. He's coming out to meet me, and he's got what could be an army to wipe me out. So Esau hears from Jacob. He goes out to meet him. Jacob fears. In verse 7, Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed at this, and he divided his people that was with him, the flocks and the herds and the camels, into two bands. And he's thinking, well, if Esau comes and attacks one, and I lose that group, at least I'll have the other group. So to divide so that maybe he can survive an attack, if that's what Esau has in mind. And said, if Esau come to one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. Verse 9, and Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which said unto me, return back home to thine own country and to thy kindred, and I'll deal well with thee. So Jacob turns to God. His character is getting better all the time. I am not worthy of the least of all these mercies and all of the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over into Jordan with nothing, and now I am become two bands. Look at all this that I have. You've prospered me. Verse 11, he prays to God, deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother and from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. Jacob turns to God. He's asking for deliverance and to somehow that he'll be okay when he goes back to Esau. Verse 12, and thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother. So now Jacob gets the idea, I'll offer a gift. I'll send this gift out before to meet him, and that will make him happy and will appease him, and his heart will be turned towards me. And you see what he gives, 200 she-goats and 20 goats and 200 ewes and all the rest of this. Verse 16, he delivered them into the hand of his servants, every drove themselves, or every flock or herd. And he said unto his servants, pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. So here we see this kind of parade of gifts. First one comes to Esau, second one comes to Esau, third one comes to Esau. And so this is meant to, play on Esau's mind. Look, gift from Jacob, gift from Jacob, gift from Jacob. Verse 17, and he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother meeteth thee, and ask thee, saying, who art thou, and whither goest thou, and whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, they be thy servant Jacob's, and it is a present sent unto my lord Esau. And behold, he is also behind us. He's coming. Here's his gift. This is a gift for you. Here's a gift for you. Here's a gift for you. And he's coming. And so he commanded the second and the third and all that followed the droves, saying, on this manner shall ye speak unto Esau when you find him. And say ye moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me. And afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. Very wise. We see in the book of Proverbs, this is something that said it's a wise thing to do, to give gifts. And to show your heart. I mean, if your heart's truly in it. And I think it truly is in it here. Jacob wants to go home and he wants to make right with his brother. And by the end, we're going to see that Jacob turns over everything to his brother, completely in his brother's mercy, at his brother's mercy. Everything goes before him, and he's just left before him.
Well, did Esau have a right to be angry at his brother? I mean, was he angry without a cause? Well, no, Jacob knew he was deserving of his brother's anger because of all that he had done to deceive him. So he wasn't coming to Esau saying, I don't deserve this. You're not treating me right. Mm-hmm. He knew that he deserved this potential anger that was coming toward him, or this potential judgment. And so this is why he was trying to appease him.
Yeah, I think it's starting to look good for Jacob's character. Verse 21, so went the present over before him, and his company lodged that night he lodged himself that night in the company. And Jacob rose up in the night. Well, this is the night before the meeting with Esau. He rose up in the night. Have anyone ever had those kind of moments? Well, tomorrow's the day, and you're up in the night. And he took his 2 wives and 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and set them over the brook and sent over that he had, so that then Jacob was just alone, rose up in the night, and eventually became alone now, I believe, getting alone with God and the night before and trying to get some peace, some resolution for his mind is unsettled. Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man, or it could be better interpreted as individual, really an angel, with him until the breaking of the day. If you want a verse that refers to this man as an angel, Hosea 12:4 says it was an angel. And when the angel, saw that he prevailed against him not, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. Now we're going to see this was a real thing that occurred in the natural realm, because this is going to be left as a reminder to Jacob of what happened. This really happened. You met God, and you wrestled with God, with his promises, standing in faith, because his hip is kind of out of joint for the rest of his life. He has this limp as a reminder of, you wrestled with God. And even and when he tells the story, think about that. I wrestled with God last night. How? Look at me. Yeah. Amen. Verse 26, and the angel said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And Jacob said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. Think of the context. This is the night before. Jacob's trying to do what God told him. He's going back to Esau. He's trying to make right with him and go back home. And God said, go, it'll be all right. And Jacob's up in the middle of the night, and he's wrestling with this angel saying, you got to make this come to pass. This has to happen. You promised me. Tomorrow it has to go right. I won't let you go unless you bless me. So he's standing on the promises of God, and that's what the whole significance of this wrestling with the angel is. Verse 27, he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince you have proven yourself. Now you've stood with me. You've said, I will not let go of this promise, God. For as a prince thou hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name, who I've been wrestling with. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And we see this, other people asking God, what's your name? He says, I am. But don't worry about that. I'm the Lord God of all, the Almighty. So here, Jacob stands on the promises. He prevails with God, and he gets the name change of Prince of God. Verse 30, Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Phanuel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. He had this reminder of this really happened. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank.